what are those things where you put ants in there and they live
in a piggy bank? Ants in the pants?
Well, one of those things,
Remember that game, Ants in the Pants?
where you can watch the ants build tunnels.
Ant Farm.
Yeah, an ant farm.
Right.
And then before the ants, what's that?
I'm like, piggy bank?
Yeah, we put ants in the piggy bank.
What the hell am I talking about?
This is Don't Ask Tig. I'm Tig Notaro, and if you're still asking, you must be clueless. Today's guest is an actor who has starred in movies like I Love You Man, This Is 40, Anchorman, and Ant-Man, in which he plays Ant-Man himself. Paul Rudd, welcome to Don't Ask Tig, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Tig. It's a pleasure to be here. I realize I'm in a lot of movies that end with the word man. Yeah.
Have you never noticed that?
No, well, not really. I mean, I thought when you said in your intro, when you were talking about Clueless, that was the perfect segue into Clueless, which was the second movie I ever did, but the first to ever come out. And then instead, it was other movies you mentioned, all ending in man. So yeah, I think it really was the first time I kind of put that together.
Well, I was referencing your movie when I said Clueless.
Oh, that's why I thought of it. I think maybe I'm the one who's clueless.
Snuck right by you. Now, several years back, Paul, you welcomed me and my wife into your upstate New York home after I demanded a meeting because we were potentially looking to buy a house in the area.
Yep.
And you didn't really know me that well. And then maybe a year ago, I got an out-of-the-blue email from you saying you were going down a rabbit hole watching all of my stand-up specials again.
Oh, yeah.
You're just one of those guys where I don't ever hear anything bad about you. I guess my point is why you got to be such a nice guy.
Oh, I'm really not. You know, we have a couple of mutual friends, so I think maybe you're only hearing about stuff about me from them, and they're friends, so they're going to say nice things.
Well, I like to believe what they're saying.
But I do remember sending that email because it was true. I had been watching, I'd seen you do stand-up for years, but it was really fun to just kind of really revisit some of those specials. And man, they're so funny. You're so funny. And it was, so I just wanted to tell you that I had been doing that.
It's so nice.
And I was so excited to have you at my house upstate and was really trying to make that happen. I really wanted you to get a place right next to me. And then we could, have that kind of life where maybe I'll send you a text and say, hey, what are you doing? Do you want to come over for some eggs and pancakes this morning? Or let's go to the farmer's market. And, that just sounds great. And I wish you were my neighbor.
We haven't given up. We still haven't made the step.
Yeah.
But we have been on a mission and looking, and of course with the pandemic, everything stopping and then everyone buying every bit of property.
Right. Yeah.
There are no homes left anywhere almost in that area.
Nothing's available as far as a home, land, cars, wood.
Yeah.
Just everything is stopped.
Right.
So everything's much harder. Hopefully it'll ease up sometime soon.
Now, you're the co-owner of Samuel's Sweet Shop in Rhinebeck, New York, which I personally visited when we went on that trip. Actually, many trips after that. Stephanie's mother ended up renting a house in Rhinebeck.
Oh, really?
So we ended up spending a lot of time there. We brought our children to the candy shop. And what drew you to the candy business? And how much candy do you personally eat?
Well, I eat a lot of candy. I really like candy.
Okay.
I like candy that is intended for little kids. I always have.
Like one of those big, swirly, colorful lollipops where you just lick something the size of your face.
Yeah. I like those. I like Mike and Ike's and, anything that's kind of like sprees or bottle caps. And it is true that I'm a co-owner in this candy store, but it wasn't anything that I had planned on doing. It just happened that this candy store existed when I moved close to the town. when I went to Rhinebeck, I didn't really know anyone there, but I went into this candy store called Samuel's, and there was a guy working there named Ira. My son was, I don't know, 3 years old or something. And he said, Jack, when you're old enough, you can work here. He was this really sweet guy. And this little candy store in this town was idyllic and nice. And all the, high school kids worked there. And anyway, it was really sad, but he was a young guy in his 50s. He had a heart attack. He died.
Oh.
And his family wanted nothing to do with his business. And Jeffrey Dean Morgan and Hillary Burton, they're married. They're neighbors of mine up there and friends. And we were talking. They also knew Ira. And then our other friend, Andy, we all went in together and bought the candy store, kind of with the idea that we just wanted to keep it for the town.
Yeah.
And then there's a guy named John Traver who had worked there since he was a teenager. And now he was in his early 30s and he wanted to run the candy store. And so he does.
That's incredible.
That's how it all happened. Yeah, years ago.
They also make a good latte there.
Oh, man. Well, the one thing we really wanted to kind of up the game was in the coffee department. Because we have pastries and cookies. It isn't just candy.
Yeah.
But the coffee is out of sight.
You know what I just remembered, actually, is that Stephanie wrote a movie based on a story that we came up with that Judd is producing, that Stephanie is going to direct, that takes place, it's as if we move to Rhinebeck. I can't believe I forgot to mention that.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
It really is full circle.
Yeah.
I mean, you really are destined to live there.
We're going to go to the farmer's market.
The universe is pointing you in this direction.
Yes, for sure. Paul, as we mentioned before, you play Ant-Man in Ant-Man, and my son Max is absolutely obsessed with ants. What can he learn from ants?
Boy, we can learn a lot from ants. How to work together as a society.
Yeah.
Putting the colony first, above individualism. I don't know if we could learn this from ants, but if for some reason we were all wiped out by a flood, we could all hold onto our hands and arms and maybe form a raft and float. Ants can do that.
Yeah.
There are some ants, I think they're called trap jaw ants or something. They have their jaw snaps open with the force of like a bullet 100 times over, and they put their head on the ground and they open their jaw and they'll fly up 3 feet in the air and they'll escape predators and things that way.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know what we can learn from that, but it's just cool.
It's so cool. Yeah. It's incredible.
There are so many different kinds of ants that do so many weird things. I never knew this. By the way, I get this job. You're supposed to do research when you get an acting job, right?
Yeah.
So I researched ants. Not that I would ever use any of this in the movie.
But they're
fascinating. I learned a lot about ants. Yeah.
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 We got Max a little ant farm. And then before the ants arrived, because you have to order ants for the ant farm, he found ants in our backyard and just put them in the ant farm. And sadly, they did not make it.
Oh, no.
They were not the right ants, I guess. And so that's a sad story.
So wait, you have to order an ant farm, but then you have to order the ants separately.
Yeah. Yeah. You get excited about the ant farm, and then you have to wait 2 to 3 weeks for the ants to arrive. I don't get it. Maybe there's a better option out there, but we sure didn't do it.
Have the ants been affected by COVID? Like cars and houses? Is it tough to get ants now because of the chain of...
Gosh, I don't think so. I don't know.
So it hasn't ruined everything.
Almost. But their ants are still doing all right.
Ants are still on time?
Yeah, I think so. Now, Paul, you're our second guest who's been on the list of People Magazine's sexiest men alive. But unlike our other guest, Sanjay Gupta, you were named the sexiest man alive in 2021. What makes you sexier than Sanjay?
Well, I'm the wrong person to ask because in my book, no one's sexier than Sanjay Gupta.
I gotta agree. I mean, he is a catch.
The brain on that guy?
Yeah.
He's also reassuring when we're really in trouble. When this all started, this pandemic, like Sanjay Gupta was the guy I would go to.
Yeah.
He was the source. It was like Fauci was like that too. You know, there are a couple of people where it's like, okay, I want to listen to what they have to say. And all right, I can breathe a little easier with this mask on. So I don't think that I'm sexier than Sanjay Gupta.
But do you feel that you're sexier than a lot of other people.
Yeah.
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 Okay. Paul, it's time for you to help me give advice to my listeners.
Okay.
All right?
Yep.
Our first question is from a listener in Seattle.
Oh.
Mimi J writes, Dear Tig, first of all, I'm really sorry to hear about Cowboy Rick's passing and wish to share condolences. Paul, you might be wondering who Cowboy Rick is. He was my stepfather since I was 2, and he passed away unexpectedly. He was basically the star of my TV show, One Mississippi, and so I think that my fans really connected to that loss because they got to know him on that show.
I'm sorry.
Well, thank you. So that's what they're referencing. I also want to mention also that Cowboy Rick is what my kids called my stepfather. That was not his God-given name. Okay, so Mimi J writes, Hope you and your family have all the time and support you need to get through this. Now here's my question. 7 years ago, I moved from Boston, where I have a thriving social life, to Seattle, where my social life is just a whisper. It's been disappointing. 5 years ago, I met my husband and we got married during the pandemic. He has less than a whisper of a social life. We are kind and interesting to each other and have a lovely time together. But it recently occurred to us that we are not likable people. We don't know why. Perhaps it's an energy we give off, or maybe we unwittingly scowl when we're not engaged in conversation. Either way, we're not winning people over. We don't think it's healthy to just hang out together, and we want to make friends, but we need help being likable. How does one become more likable? Paul, do you have any feelings?
Well, even by just that letter, I think must be likable people. I mean, I thought that was actually a very thoughtful thing that she wrote.
Yeah.
We have to recognize the situation we're in right now. You haven't been there that long, and there was a pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is kind of still tentatively working their way back into the world. They're seeing friends that they hadn't seen for a while. They're reconnecting. This is like everything else, probably just going to take a little bit of time.
It is weird timing.
It's a weird timing. I think that timing is, it's a big deal. I would say maybe you're going to Seattle. Maybe you can always start a conversation with anybody there to say, oh boy, how about this whole Russell Wilson trade to the Broncos? And I would think that maybe that would be a subject that a lot of the people that you meet in Seattle would have very strong feelings about, and it's a good way to kind of start a conversation.
But what if this person, Mimi J, doesn't have follow-up information? Because if I took that suggestion of yours and then I guess you could just follow it up with, I don't know anything
you don't
about
know.
what
This
I'm
is just,
saying.
I'm just throwing this out there. And then
I'm new to town.
Yeah, I'm new to town. People are really upset about the Russell. What? Tell me about the, how are you feeling about this? Because really, if you can just listen to people, then people feel as if they've been heard and they're ready to start a friendship.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, this person kind of is listening to my gripes or whatever.
Right. I think also, I mean, I don't know, I love Seattle. I go there all the time to perform. But, sometimes cities can be a little cliquish, and it's not like a small southern town or Rhinebeck like we're talking about. And it's also a city where people are likely hiding under umbrellas and raincoats and
right.
Trying to get out of the rain and reading a book in a snuggly little coffee shop.
Yeah, I would not worry about it too much. If you've come from a place where you had a pretty strong social circle, chances are you're a pretty social person. I would imagine you're much more likable than you're giving yourself credit for. So I would say, it's a weird moment in time. And it just takes a while to kind of form friendships, especially one right out of a pandemic when everyone is still kind of testing the waters.
Well, and also she met her husband and got married during the pandemic. I feel like that's also something because you can tend to lose your social abilities when you get into a relationship or you're a newlywed and you can kind of forget to reach out to people or interact. But I mean, it sounds like they're actively trying to.
It is weird, like I think as soon as people started to kind of go over to people's homes again or go to restaurants, and it took a while, and it's still taking a while, but to remember how to be social with one another.
It's awkward.
It's awkward. And to go through that and then do that on the, like you say, on the heels of getting married during a pandemic, it's like you're already kind of re-entering the thing from a totally different vantage point. You're in a new town, you're in a new marriage. It's a lot to deal with. Also,
when you're an adult, you don't have the things that you could rely on when you were younger, like school and after school activities. Like when you're in your 20s, it's so much easier to socialize. And I was just talking to somebody recently about how church is one of those things that is so helpful to people in their lives when they're not in school anymore, their jobs ended, and they're elderly and they're not alone anymore. Because, not that I'm here to push people on church, but it was just an interesting conversation where I guess I knew that, but when I really thought about it, and I think this all came up also after my stepfather died, and I was talking to my friends because my stepfather mainly spent his time with his brother and my aunt, and he wasn't a churchgoer or anything like that. So he had a very small world around him.
Right.
But I don't know. You definitely have to actively, if you're not going to join a church, you definitely have to actively pursue friendships. And so you could try and be a regular at a coffee shop or a restaurant or a candy shop.
You're right. It's hard. It's hard. Yeah, it isn't set up for people that are not going to school or going to a regular function at a regular
or
time.
Church.
Or church.
Church.
God.
Yeah.
Once again, the churchgoers have a real leg up on us, Tig.
No. Oh, well. I guess the point is that you can't expect friends to walk up to you on the street. You have to find them, but also understand that you're in a weird situation right now with the move and the pandemic and being an adult and whatever. So, Mimi J, listen to whatever Paul's saying. He's a very likable guy, and I don't care what he says about himself. Paul, we're going to take a short break, but sit tight because we will return with more questions. And we're back. Paul, this next one is from a listener who created the problem they are now asking us to solve. Megan writes, my kid is 2.5. We started telling her no, ma'am, when she's doing something she's not supposed to, sort of tongue-in-cheek. However, she has started telling everyone around her no, ma'am, in her most serious little toddler voice when something is going on that she doesn't like. It's hilarious and very cute, especially when she says it to manly men types like her dad. But of course, I also want her to be taken seriously when she says no, especially as she gets older. Do we need to change this habit now despite the joy it brings us, or can we wait for her to grow out of it? I'm not the person to ask because my 5-year-old twin sons say things they are absolutely not supposed to say, and we do not stop them ever.
Yeah.
So
I'm the same. I was the same with my kids. It's just so fun to hear them say things incorrectly or say weird things, or they're going to grow out of it.
Yeah, it's the only time you get to hear them say the cute, ridiculous thing of a 2-year-old saying no, ma'am, to a big burly man. Why would you stop that?
Never.
Mm-mm. In fact, I feel like it would pack even more of a punch, even as she gets older, to say no, ma'am. to anybody.
If anything, the question should be, how can we teach our daughter to hold on to this and say it longer as she grows up?
Yeah, I'm not the person that...
I think you are the person. I think you're 100% right on this.
I don't know. I mean, my sons, their problem is they casually just having lunch. My son Max turned to Finn and they were talking about sports. And Max said, "What the are you talking about?" And Finn said, "It's true. They won the World Series." And it's not even, there's nothing. Our backyard was leaking. The sprinkler exploded. And Finn walked out and said, "What the happened here?" And then when the guy was fixing the yard and Finn calmed down, he genuinely just asked the guy, "So what the happened out here?" So that's what's going on at our house. And we've never gotten any feedback from the school. So I don't know. I'm not the person. But I do think it is one of the joys of having kids is to hear the cute and funny things that they say from a brain that is still developing and taking in what's around them from such a small amount of experiences too, and few words to make fit into scenarios. So yeah, I think probably never again will you hear these kind of special, I'm acting like is the special thing to hear.
But come on, what's better than like hearing a really little kid innocently ask, "What the is going on here?" I guess that's just great.
And you see just a sea of workmen in the backyard laughing so hard. And Finn thinks he's meeting them at their level. Like, "Hey, buddy, so what the is going on out here?" You know? So anyway, Megan, that's what Paul Rudden, I think. Paul, our next question was sent in by someone who goes by Birthday Bashed. Birthday Bashed writes, "My friend and I are in our 30s. I don't care about my birthday at all, but she throws a big party for her birthday every year and gets disappointed when I can't come. I keep saying no because we live across the country from each other, which makes it a really expensive trip. But if I'm honest, I also think it's dumb for adults to throw big birthday parties unless it's a milestone birthday. Am I a horrible friend or does she need to adjust her expectations?" Birthday Bashed, I'm taking this personally because I feel like unless there's a pandemic happening, I feel like you should always go all out if you can. That's my feeling is my wife and I, before the pandemic, we would find any reason to throw a party, any reason to celebrate. And I used to not do that. But when we got together, I started really finding the value in vacations and parties. I would have a party here or there, but man, she and I were like Mardi Gras party, Flag Day, whatever was going on, we were throwing parties and we're very excited to get back into it. But I do think that your friend is asking that you get her a $500 to $1,000 or more present when she's expecting you to fly across the country or drive. I mean, gas prices are high, but I don't think you're a terrible friend if you don't have a ton of free time or loads of cash to just drop everything and go. Even for a milestone birthday, I think you should feel lucky if people drop everything and come celebrate. Even if they're in the same town, it's nice that people show up. Paul, are you a celebratory guy?
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more on this. I would say we should just seize every chance we get to celebrate anything. Milestone birthday, regular birthday, none of it matters. Take birthday out of it and just look at the situation. Your friend wants you to come celebrate and have a good time. I'm quoting the entire song by Kool and the Gang right now. Look, there's a party going on right here. And
a celebration
yeah.
to last throughout the year. I saw Kool and the Gang open for Van Halen once.
Oh, man.
It was an incredible evening of music. But anyway.
That's a really interesting combination.
Yeah.
And one you wouldn't expect.
No. Anyway, that's not...
It's so easy to go down the Van Halen train, which I'm also willing to do, and the Kool and the Gang train. But you're right. Look, not everybody can afford to take time off of work or spend the money to get, and you shouldn't ever be made to feel bad, birthday bashed for that. If you can't do it, you can't do it. But if you can do it, and maybe even just do it for one of the birthdays, just to shut them up for a while. But if you did and you went, I think you would have a great time. And then when you have a great time, it's like, oh, really, that's what life is about. Just try and collect as many of those as you can.
For sure. And I think that also your friend should just appreciate you just for the fact that you're alive and not be upset if you did miss this. Although if you can go, I think you should. Or if you want to, I think you should. But a friendship calls for celebrating all the time and not just through parties, but checking in on each other. It's a long-term commitment of caring for somebody, not just at the party times. If your friend doesn't understand that you can't drop your life or you don't have wads of money, then maybe they're not a true friend. But I think that if you want to and can go, you should go party.
Do it.
Go make a time of it.
I want somebody also to throw a birthday for a non-monumental birthday. Like, we're celebrating 46. And it's just and make it as if it was your 50th
18th.
birthday. Yeah. 18, like just something huge.
Yeah.
That sounds fun. It should, the off year.
Uh-huh.
Why not make that massive?
Celebrate the off year.
Yeah.
Birthday bashed. Hope that helped. Paul, your experience in the world of confectionery might help for our last listener question.
Okay, I hope so.
Anna writes, "Hey Tig, my wife and I are approaching our 6th wedding anniversary, and we usually follow the traditional gift themes, but this year it's iron. Someone created an alternative list, and they've decided that candy is a reasonable anniversary gift. What iron/candy gift would you give Stephanie? Do you have any anniversary traditions?" We've never followed these lists, but whenever I remember or am reminded about these lists, I always think, I want to start following those. Do you follow those, Paul?
No, like this is the wood anniversary, like that kind of thing now, and I never do. There's something kind of nice about it.
Yeah.
Iron is tricky. I mean, if you want to combine it with candy, it's a little harder. Maybe it's a container that you serve the candy in, but
like an iron
bowl filled with Skittles.
Yeah.
Maybe some sort of artwork made out of iron.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man.
Iron it's easy to stumble upon. It's not a rare element, so it shouldn't be too hard to come by. Maybe just an iron.
Yeah, I was just thinking maybe we should start selling gummy irons at our store,
That's a smart move, Paul.
Yeah. Just for all people celebrating their 6th anniversary. Yeah.
Maybe you could also you could give your wife an actual vending machine, because I'm sure it's made of iron. There's some iron in there, right?
Like an old vintage one.
Yes.
That you could find on eBay.
Yes.
A vending machine. That's kind of a cool gift.
Yeah. Especially if you make her pay each time she gets candy. Speaking of vending machines, we took Max and Finn to they are so athletic, and we took them to a batting cage. Mm-hmm. The lesbian moms with their kids at the batting cage, and they're just like plowing away at the baseballs. And then they noticed inside that there was an arcade, and they had never seen anything like that in their life. And so we went inside, and they were just, dumping quarter after quarter after quarter after quarter into each of these games that they've never played an arcade game.
It must have been sensory overload. I mean,
oh my gosh. They did not only sensory overload. They didn't know how to play the games, and it was just coin after coin after coin in there. And they were getting frustrated after a while because anywhere from like Pac-Man to that machine that has the claw that tries to grab the stuffed animal or candy out of the thing, they couldn't make anything happen. And I noticed a vending machine and I said, "Oh my gosh, you guys should try this game." And so they put money in and just entered the B12 or whatever for the candy, and it just fell. And they were like obsessed with this game.
This is the greatest game. I have found the greatest game.
And when we left, they were like, "I can't wait to go back to the arcade to play that game."
What a brilliant thing to do, though. I mean, Tig, hats off. That was really clever.
And every time they got the candy that they wanted.
Oh my gosh, that's so smart.
Well, I was kind of impressed with myself.
It's really good. That's really great.
Well, and it'll only last for so long because, like I said, they're 5. And they're still excited about the Easter Bunny and all that kind of stuff. And they've been home in a pandemic. So once they start getting
really it's like they're 3.
Yeah. And as I've told people for the past couple of years, for the first year of the pandemic, we told them they were on spring break. They didn't even know there was a pandemic. So they just stayed home and played for a whole year. So we've pulled a few things over.
You're doing it right. I think, oh my gosh, you should try and get them to say no, ma'am.
And have them stop saying, no, ma'am.
No fucking way, ma'am.
No fucking way, ma'am. All right. Anna, there you have it. Happy anniversary.
Yeah, happy anniversary.
Paul, we've now reached the final segment of the show. It's called Name That Thing. Name That Thing. This is where my listeners write in when they need us to name a thing for them.
Okay.
Anything from a beehive to a Wi-Fi network. The catch is they must use the name. This is binding, so we can't mess this up.
Okay.
Any questions before we proceed?
Nope, I'm all set.
Okay. Emily writes, "Hi, Tig and unknown special guest." Emily, it's Paul Rudd.
Hey, Emily, how you doing? I'm going to assume she's doing okay, even though I can't really get the response.
Yeah. Let's hope she's doing okay. Who knows when this came in? Life can turn at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
Emily, I hope you're doing all right.
We both do, Emily. Hang in there.
Hang in there, Emily. Emily continues to write, "I recently got hired for a position I'm really excited about. While accepting the offer, the director mentioned that another employee has the same first and middle name as I do. She asked if I had any nicknames I could go by, but I don't. I'm in need of a new name. Any ideas? For context, my name is Emily, and I'm a librarian in a small town public library. Thanks so much."
Oh, boy.
This is very odd. What would you do, Paul, if somebody said, "We already have a Paul, pick a new name"?
Yeah. This is really tough because it's in a library in a small town.
Yeah.
Half of the names I was thinking of, you can't use. You're not going to use those.
Like what?
I was thinking of Calyptian Ideal was one. I was thinking in terms of like of an email thing or something. I didn't know if that's why.
Oh, okay.
Which means perfectly rounded buttocks. It actually does mean that. But you don't want to use that. Not when you're a librarian.
Or you could use just perfectly round buttocks.
Yeah, but it's more fun when you have to Google it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Okay.
Or just PRB.
PRB.
Just the initials. But she needs to be called by a different name?
Yes. And you know what I'm thinking? I find this offensive. I'm upset with the boss here, the director.
It seems like a big ask.
I was going to say who wants to change their name, but I'm sure there are people that are like, "Oh, I hate my name." And let's assume Emily's already thought of the obvious of M. But if I were you, Emily, I would take the name Boss.
Oh, Boss.
How about that?
That's pretty good. Yeah.
And then this boss has to call Emily boss. Paul, what do you say?
I mean, I like your thinking on this. I don't know this boss. I mean, I think it's a really big thing to ask a grown-up to change their name. Something tells me, even though there's another Emily, they'd be able to each use the name Emily and figure it out.
That's a really good point.
It seems.
I didn't even think about that.
Like, yeah, Emily 2. We had
Emily 3.
Emily 3. What if she goes by Emily 3? And then there's only 2 of them, and then it creates even more confusion because somebody will think that, wait, was there another Emily that's not here anymore?
Or number 1.
When my kids were little, we had a babysitter named Emily, and they couldn't say her name. They called her Mimi. They were trying to say Emily.
Sure.
And so she always went by Mimi. So whenever I hear Emily, I sometimes just think Mimi.
Okay, so we have Mimi, we have boss.
And then Emily 2.
Emily 2. What about captain? I feel like it should be a bold statement because it's a bold request. So like, oh, you want me to change my name? Okay. Call me captain. Call me boss. Or Mimi.
Captain. Captain is pretty good.
Captain. Sheriff.
Lieutenant. Comptroller? It's not as high ranking. Mayor. What about the mayor?
Well, it's funny because my kids call me Mare. It's French for mother, M-E-R-E, Mare. But my son Max always calls me Mayor. I think it's because he watches Paw Patrol, and there's a mayor on there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like Mayor.
What about Cowboy Emily?
Paul, you brought it full circle.
I mean, right? Cowboy Emily.
You know what? Everybody listening right now is lucky that I'm not on a downslope in my roller coaster of emotions that I've been on for 2 weeks, because that would have made me cry 2 days ago.
Oh,
I'm all for Cowboy Emily.
I think, Cowboy lives on in unexpected ways and in unexpected places. Libraries, too.
Oh my God, that's perfect, because my stepfather, after he retired, my brother and I were like, what was your dream job that you never got to do or that you could have done when you retired? And he said he would never do it, but was librarian.
Oh my God, really?
Yes.
We've got the name.
It's Cowboy Emily.
Cowboy Emily.
Or is it Cowboy
M? Cowboy
M.
Cowboy M.
Cowboy M. Emily, your work name is now Cowboy M. Or Cowboy Emily. I'm going to give some flexibility here because I do feel like Cowboy Emily has a nice ring to it.
It does.
Like Cowboy Rick. I mean, it's just, these are good names. So you are welcome. And please write us back and let us know how Cowboy Emily works for you. Paul Rudd, nicely done.
Oh.
I mean, and how crazy that I can't wait to call my brother and tell him that, because
that Cowboy Rick wanted to be a librarian. I mean, it fits so perfectly. Maybe this is all, circuitous and done for a reason. There was a reason that her boss said, you got to come up with a new name. There was a reason Emily wrote in to you.
Agreed.
An unspecified guest.
So I'm a little bit stunned now that I put that extra piece into place, and I really can't wait to call my brother and be like, can you believe this? Because we really did encourage him over the years to just follow your dream, become a librarian. And he just didn't. All right. Paul Rudd, do you have anything you'd like to mention to our listeners?
Just that I adore you, Tig. And I think your listeners must be pretty cool because they're listening to you. So I have nothing else to say other than that. I'm honored to be on your show. I'm really happy about the librarian part of it. The other two the advice offered I thought was useless. I didn't offer anything worthwhile. I didn't really give any insight, but I'm glad we came up with Cowboy Emily. It was all worth it for that.
I got chills on my arms. Thank you for doing the show and for coming up with Cowboy Emily. And Cowboy Emily, you gotta use it. All right. Thanks again for taking the time, Paul. I'll see you soon.
Sounds good, Tig. Thanks.
Goodbye, sir.
Bye.
Hello again. Now that this episode is over, you have no excuse. Make your way to tignotaro.com to reserve your seats for my next live and in-person show.
That's what your heart is for. That's what your heart is for. That's what your heart is for. Listen to your heart.
Don't Ask Tig is hosted by me, Tig Notaro. It's produced by Thomas Willett, Shayna Deloria, and Ryan Lohr. Our executive producer and editor is Beth Perlman. Engineering and sound mixing by Johnny Vince Evans, Eric Romani, and Derek Ramirez. Digital production by James Napoli. Talent booking by Marianne Ways. Production support from Pizza Shark. Our theme music is Friend and Tig by Edie Brickell and Kyle Crusham, and Listen to Your Heart by Edie Brickell. Special thanks to Hunter Seidman. APM Studios executives in charge are Chandra Kavati, Alex Schaffert, and Joanne Griffith. Concept developed by Tracy Mumford. Our executive consultant is Dean Capello and Gobsmack Studios. You can always ask for advice at don'tasktig.org. Just write in with your problem or send us a voice memo. Remember to follow us on social media at Don't Ask Tig. Don't Ask Tig is a production of American Public Media. And as always, thanks, Dana, and I'll tell Becky.
That's what your